I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, I'm going to take it. Those chilling words, scrawled in a note and echoed later in digital messages, are more than just a confession. They are an open door into a crime that has shaken American politics to its core. But what if this act of political violence conceals something even darker? Something tied not just to ideology, but to power, secrecy, and a name that still haunts America years after his death: Jeffrey Epstein. Tonight, we ask the question that few dare to explore. Is there any real connection between Charlie Kirk's assassination and the still-buried Epstein files? Did forces far bigger than one 22-year-old gunman set the stage for this tragedy? Or are we witnessing speculation amplified for political effect? The evidence leaves us torn. A note, text messages, and a rifle wrapped in a towel. Evidence the FBI confirms ties suspect Tyler Robinson directly to the shooting. And yet, just days later, a very different storm was already brewing. The Epstein files. Documents still under lock and key. A federal director, Kash Patel, pressed before Congress, insisting there was no client list and no trafficking beyond Epstein himself. If that is true, why won't the government release everything? And why did conversations about Epstein explode online within hours of Kirk's death? As we peel back the layers, you'll see how quickly this case became more than a crime scene. It became a battlefield of speculation, political theories, media narratives, and whispers about secret networks reaching into the highest levels of influence. And before we dive deeper, I need you with me. If you like this kind of investigative breakdown, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and comment below where you're watching from. Because the story you're about to hear isn't just about one man's murder, it's about who controls the narrative in America. And if you don't share what you believe, you're letting others fill the gaps. Understanding why Tyler Robinson acted requires peeling back layers of ideology, grievance, and personal fixation. Officially, the motive appears clear: political anger. He believed Charlie Kirk's influence was dangerous, spreading what he called too much hate, and in his mind, violent action was the only response. Online echo chambers amplified this resentment, turning private grievances into public rage. But as we explore motive, a shadow question emerges. Could Robinson's act, perfectly timed and meticulously executed, have been shaped, however indirectly, by larger forces? Epstein's files, still largely sealed, have long been linked to influence, manipulation, and hidden sway over powerful networks. While no verified evidence connects Epstein directly to Kirk's murder, the overlap of secrecy, timing, and public perception has fueled speculation. Some ask, could Robinson's radicalization mirror the patterns of control Epstein once wielded through secrecy, selective information, and psychological influence? Other possible motives emerge in the digital age: the need for notoriety, the desire to signal allegiance to ideological communities, the compulsion to enact a private sense of justice. And yet all of these motives collide with questions that remain unanswered. Could there be unseen influences at play, hidden networks we cannot yet trace? Or is the human desire to connect dots simply creating shadows where none exist? The lingering questions are what keep this case alive in public imagination. What if more Epstein files were released? Would they reveal connections we cannot yet see? Could the intersections of radicalization, secrecy, and public violence indicate a pattern that stretches beyond Utah? Or are we being seduced by coincidence, imagining design where there is only chaos? And so we are left with uncertainty. Robinson's motives are partially understood, but the broader narrative, entwined with whispers of Epstein's lingering influence, refuses to settle. The crime is real. The loss is undeniable. But the story continues to ripple, asking us to question not just who did this, but what unseen forces shaped the world in which it could happen. But before Robinson's name was even made public, the story had already gone national, because this wasn't just any shooting. This was Charlie Kirk, an activist with a massive online following, a voice tightly bound to conservative politics, and a figure who had stood side by side with Donald Trump. Within hours, Trump himself was calling it what many feared, an assassination. And yet, as images of Kirk's final moments spread across social media, another narrative began to unfold. In corners of the internet, the discussion veered away from the rooftop, the rifle, and the suspect. Instead, people began asking, who really benefits from Kirk's silence? Was his death about more than politics? That's when Epstein's name started trending. To some, the timing felt uncanny. The same week, Congress was pressing the FBI for Epstein-related files. Kirk, who had publicly questioned government secrecy in the past, was gunned down in a public space. Officially, no link was established. But in the aftermath of trauma, suspicion filled the void. Was this a lone wolf, or the first domino in a story much bigger than Utah, much bigger than Turning Point USA, much bigger than Robinson himself? And here's the haunting truth. Once Epstein's shadow entered the conversation, the narrative of Kirk's death could never again be contained to the crime scene alone. The case against Tyler Robinson didn't take long to build. Investigators weren't dealing with a phantom. They were dealing with a trail of evidence so layered that each piece seemed to confirm the next. First, the forensic evidence. A bolt-action rifle found wrapped in a towel and discarded in a nearby field. On it, DNA that matched Robinson. A screwdriver used to manipulate rooftop access points, also carrying his genetic trace. Ballistic analysis confirmed what everyone inside the auditorium already knew. This was the weapon that ended Charlie Kirk's life. But forensic proof was just the surface. There was also the symbolic evidence, psychological breadcrumbs left behind, bullets engraved with phrases, words carved with intent, as if Robinson wanted his act to be more than a killing. He wanted it to be a statement. Then there was the handwritten note, tucked under a roommate's keyboard. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk. I'm going to take it. Not rage written in the moment, but the calm of premeditation. And then came the digital trail. Text messages sent in the hours leading up to the murder. Discord chats where Robinson openly confessed to the shooting, pleaded with his roommate to stay silent, even mapped out drop points for the weapon. Surveillance footage tied him to the area. GPS data placed him at the rooftop vantage. It wasn't just one form of proof. It was a chorus of confirmations. On paper, it seemed airtight. But airtight doesn't mean complete. Because just as law enforcement lined up each piece of evidence, the Epstein question began to creep in. Why? Because the bullet inscriptions, the handwritten note, and even the online confessions were quickly circulated on forums that also discuss Epstein's sealed files. Some saw Robinson's words not as the rant of one young man, but as a cipher, something hinting at larger forces. And that's where the evidence takes on a dual life. For prosecutors, it's the clean build of a murder case. For conspiracy theorists, it's a puzzle begging to be connected to Epstein's shadow network. Again, no verified evidence links Epstein to this crime, but the discussion persists. Then there's the timing. Just days after the murder, FBI Director Kash Patel faced Congress, grilled over Epstein's files. His statement was clear: no client list exists, no evidence of trafficking beyond Epstein himself. But instead of closing the conversation, it poured fuel on it. If there's truly nothing to hide, why not release every file? Why keep secrets amid a storm of speculation? This is the danger of evidence in the digital age. Every note, bullet, and text message can be reinterpreted, woven into a broader narrative. Was Robinson's evidence simply what it appeared to be? A young man radicalized, confessing in his own hand? Or was it, as some speculate, a cover story? Too neat, too convenient, arriving just as Epstein's shadow returned to the headlines? And so the evidence does more than build a case. It builds a crossroads. One road leads to the courtroom, where Robinson will stand trial. The other leads to the shadows, where Epstein's name, still sealed in files, refuses to die. September 10th, 2025. A Tuesday night at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. The campus was buzzing as Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, took the stage on his American Comeback Tour. Hundreds gathered inside the auditorium. Cameras rolled, phones lit up the crowd. And then, one shot. A single crack from a bolt-action rifle, fired from a rooftop. The bullet struck Kirk as he spoke, dropping him before stunned onlookers. Panic tore through the auditorium. Screams, people scrambling for exits, students pressing against walls, unsure if more shots would follow. Police rushed in within minutes. Outside, the search was already underway. The weapon, a rifle wrapped in a towel, tossed near the scene, would soon lead investigators down a chilling trail. Surveillance images circulated almost instantly, and a manhunt began. 2 individuals were detained in those first chaotic hours, but both were later released. The true suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, would emerge only after investigators pieced together DNA evidence, digital confessions, and the testimony of someone shockingly close to him. Tyler Robinson, 22, a Utah resident with no prior high-profile violent crimes. By all appearances, a quiet, ordinary young man. Friends and neighbors described him as reserved, even unremarkable. But behind the surface lay a mind increasingly consumed by political obsession and radicalized ideas. His personal life added another layer of complexity. He shared a home with his roommate, a romantic partner who identifies as transgender, someone who would later play a pivotal role in unraveling the case. Details like these, amplified online, quickly became fodder for discussion, speculation, and inevitably, conspiracy theories. Yet it was not just Robinson's ideological extremism that caught attention. It was how neatly the case dovetailed with timing and circumstance that made some observers pause. Within days of the shooting, public discussion of Epstein's files surged. Many online began asking, could the radicalization of a young man like Robinson be isolated? Or was it a reflection of broader networks of influence, secrecy, and power that Epstein once represented? No verified evidence connects Epstein to Robinson, but the pattern invites speculation. Robinson's radicalization appeared fueled by online echo chambers, private group chats, and ideological reinforcement, spaces that echo the kinds of networks Epstein's victims and associates described: hidden, exclusive, and psychologically manipulative. In both cases,